You remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold.
Alice Regina O'Brien. The name itself suggests an uncompromising Irish stubbornness. I'm sorry, Sister O'Brien. My dog really did eat my homework. Please don't use the ruler. There's very little I can say about Alice Regina O'Brien, mostly because I wasn't alive when she went by that name. What I do know, however, is that her hardened exterior was just a shell, embodying a mind of true compassion and love. When we first met, she was Alice Rand, or to me, simply Grandma. Wife to Harold, mother to David, Judy, and Joan, and my eternal spoiler. I should start by giving full disclosure. I am her favorite grandchild. Mind you, she'd never admit that, but I had a distinct advantage. My earliest memories are staring up from my crib as she and my mother watched me, probably wondering what I was thinking. I have vivid memories of her holding me in the bathroom as the shower filled the room with steam and I struggled to breathe. In fact, I have so many memories that there's simply not enough time to share them all with you. So I'll start at the beginning and jump to the end. When I was a child, Alice had a mole on her chin. One day, when I was still small enough for her to hold me, I pressed the mole with my index finger. She smiled and uttered, beep beep, imitating what sounded like a cross between the Roadrunner and a VW Beetle. I would continue to do that throughout middle school, and she'd honk and laugh every time. Eventually, she had the mole removed out of concern for her health. When both her husband and my father died, she moved in with us to basically become my second mother. For me, it's strange to hear stories from people who didn't know their grandparents well, either because they had died years earlier or simply from geographic separation. For me, it seemed perfectly natural to have a grandmother involved in just about every daily activity. I grew up with her at my side, and with the exception of college, rarely went more than a week without seeing or talking to her. My grandmother fixated on anything she perceived I liked, even if only mentioned in passing. "Oh, I see you have new shoes," she'd ask as I'd come in the door. "Do you like those?" And every 3 months, she'd buy me a new pair of plain Reebok tennis shoes, just because I liked them. And they were on sale. Or she'd have my favorite dessert and have it waiting for me when I'd stop over, every day, even when I didn't want it. "There's flan in the fridge," she'd mutter when she'd hear the door open. Not sure where she got the idea I liked flan, but I ate it anyway. It's just one of the pitfalls of being the favorite, I guess. When she held her first great-grandchild, I could see the way she probably looked at me when I was born.
Yes, I did. Yes. Yes. I wanted that curl-up lip and I didn't get it. You gotta curl up for... Yes, you did. Yeah, I think we may just have to feed you. Just have to feed you, honey bun.
Babies cry.
Alice loved her great-grandchildren, all of them. They might scare her from time to time with their aggressive play or cause her to roll her eyes as my mother let them draw with washable crayons on the windows and walls. But she smiled every time we'd stop over, which for me and my boys was nearly a daily occurrence over the last 6 years. Alice was also very protective and had an opinion on just about everything. When she found out that I was going on a date with Judy, her first comment was, "Not the 50-year-old," which wasn't exactly a glowing endorsement. When Judy and Alice finally met, however, they became instant friends, and Alice would deny ever having commented. "She's lovely! When is she coming back?" I'd hear at every mention of her name. For the 3 years before she died, I'd spend the winter with Alice, while Joan and Carmen would go to Florida. The first year was basic babysitting, and the third year was full-on assisted living with my sister as a private nurse. Judy and I both stayed in Madison, and Alice loved having someone new around she could spoil. "Is Judy coming home tonight?" began every Wednesday evening. Although she was only around on the weekends due to work, Judy was quickly displacing me as favorite grandchild. Alice had a sweet tooth, and although she liked my cooking, it was the desserts that won her over. "Oh my!" would be her reaction, even though I basically made the same dessert each night. For her, or her and I, or the three of us, as we'd sit and watch Wheel of Fortune, and Alice would solve the puzzle about 10 seconds after the contestant did, and then claim that it was a weird puzzle and didn't make any sense. One morning, as I sat working on my computer with a client in the dining room, I overheard Allie and Alice having a heated discussion on whether she was going to take a shower. The more Allie insisted, the deeper Alice dug in. "I'm not going and you can't make me," I overheard her say. "Joan doesn't help me in the shower. She leaves me alone." I listened to them go back and forth for about 10 minutes, commenting on her stubbornness as my client sat next to me. Like the proverbial unstoppable force and immovable object, the two battled on. When the discussion moved towards argument, I stood up and walked into the kitchen, leaned over my grandmother's shoulder, kissed her on the cheek, and calmly whispered into her ear, "Go take a shower." As I turned and walked out of the kitchen, she got up and headed upstairs. Yep, still number one, I thought to myself. On the fourth year, when it was clear she'd need to enter an assisted living facility for the winter, I wanted to try to keep a smile on her face. She spent so much time making other people smile, I felt it was the least I could do to repay her for all that she provided for me over the years.
Right, she's gone. Now, the big question, who's going to tell Mammy?
Well, not me.
Not me.
Not me.
Not me.
Well, not me.
Not me.
She loves that dog.
I killed that f***ing dog.
Mammy needs to be told.
No, not me.
Come on, Mark. You know you're the best at talking to her.
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay, I'll do it. Poor Mammy. She'll be very upset.
Is there not a home we could put her into? Then she could spend her last days with other old bitches.
Well, I could ring around and check out a good home. But we have to do something, and soon. Maria's right. She's getting worse. I'm afraid to let her go near Bono. She keeps trying to lick him.
I was watching her in the back garden last week. She was just pissing as she walked along. And the worst thing was, she didn't even know it.
Look, she doesn't know where she is half the time. I think her mind is gone.
Right then. It's agreed. She has to go. I'll tell her, but not yet. I'll give her a week or so.
Yeah.
Are you okay, Mammy?
I never felt better in me f***ing life.
I'd take the boys after school every few days to visit her at sunrise, but nothing brought a bigger smile to her face than seeing Judy come home from Chicago each week. Geez, 43 years as number one isn't worth anything anymore. As she had trouble understanding our questions, we'd use a whiteboard to write them down. I'd never leave without asking the same question. "Any hot guys in here?" She'd just laugh and shrug her shoulders. Alice Rand was the most vain, stubborn, obstinate, opinionated, compassionate, caring, and giving person I have ever had the pleasure of knowing. Followed closely by my own mother, who does a pretty darn good job filling her shoes. Although I'll miss my grandmother, there's so much of who she was still alive in Grandma Joan that I have no doubt someday I'll be sitting in a room just like this, listening to my sons, Kern and Jackson, say nearly identical things about her. Okay, so Alice really didn't have a favorite. It was just that I was born first. It also didn't hurt that I nearly died in her arms on several occasions, and that brings in the sympathy vote. I learned 2 things from Alice that will stay with me as long as I'm alive. Of course, these lessons weren't taught directly. Her lessons needed to be deciphered. First, what's important about a person's life is the effect they had on those around them. For example, as I drive her to the supermarket, walk her in the trunk, she'd comment as an older woman would cross the street, "Oh my, look at that poor old lady, she can barely walk." And I'd think to myself, "Hello? Yes, kettle, it's pot. You're black." One might see this as being in denial of her own physical state, but I took it as her way of saying that you could always be worse off than you are, and to help anyone that you're capable of helping. And the second thing intrigues me even more. Alice was vain, there's no denying that. Always dressing up to go out, doing her nails, putting on makeup, never showing weakness. Whether it be the need for hearing aids, or lying in my driveway for an hour with a broken arm and driving herself home instead of knocking on the door and asking for help. So it would seem incongruous that I would learn from her a most important lesson. I can't tell you the number of times she put me, and I'm sure many of you, in uncomfortable situations. Like the time the line was too long at the hardware store, so she decided to draw on the water display by the register just to kill time. "Grandma, stop it, they're gonna yell at us." "Oh, who cares," she'd say. "I'm old, what are they gonna do?" She was probably only 75 or so when that happened. And it only got worse as her hearing declined. "Wow, look at that fat lady sitting over there." And the fat lady would turn to us and glare. "Grandma, she can hear you." Hello?
Oh, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Good to see you. Wave hello.
What?
Wave hello.
Hi.
At first glance, most people see me as arrogant or cold or even mean. But the reality is that I'm just an introvert, topped with a healthy dose of social anxiety, who doesn't like to speak unless I have something important to say. Grandma showed me not to worry what people think about you. In the end, it doesn't matter. You don't do kind deeds expecting kindness in return. You don't do kind deeds because you deem the recipient worthy. You do kind deeds because it's who you are, and because you understand the powerful difference your gentle hand makes in this dreary world. This I learned by watching how Alice lived each day. Our lives will never be the same without $100 bill grab bags, or daily chocolate chip cookies, or bags of new clothes because they were on sale. For those physical reminders are gone, but we'll always have fond memories and the knowledge that we were lucky to have shared time on Earth with my grandmother.
Yes, I can.
I want to invite everyone to the 100th birthday party, which will be in Cresco, Iowa, in 2021. We're all going to Iowa, and Mother dear, Grandma, great-grand, is paying for everybody.
She would too.
Well, she would too.
She would.
And she would, because that really speaks about Alice Strand and her dedication to her family.
I think she's gonna be dead by now.
Okay.